All right, let's talk about one of the biggest topics in parenting, naps. But we're going to look at it in a whole new light. I want you to forget about naps as just downtime, because the science shows it's actually one of the most powerful, active tools for your child's developing brain. So, what is really going on in there when they finally drift off?
You've probably asked yourself this a million times while you watch your little one sleep, right? Are they just recharging their batteries? Or is something way more profound happening in that quiet room? Well, let me tell you. The research says it is absolutely the latter.
So let's just get one huge misconception out of the way right from the start. You might be using their nap time to finally catch a break, and you deserve it. But for them, it's anything but a break.
That's right. When a child naps, their brain is not shutting off, not at all. It's actually kicking into this super productive gear. It's working overtime to process and make sense of everything they were just experiencing, which leads to this really fantastic way of thinking about it.
The way experts talk about this is just perfect. It's an analogy that makes this incredibly complex brain science instantly click for pretty much all of us in this digital age. I mean, how great is that? Think about all the new things they're taking in every single minute they're awake. New faces, sounds, words, how objects feel. All of that is just temporary data floating around. A nap is the process that takes all that new experience and locks it in as long-term knowledge. It's literally the brain hitting save.
So, what's on the to-save list during a nap?
Well, we're talking about some seriously heavy-hitting brain functions here. Things like memory consolidation, making memories stick, abstracting information. So learning the rules of how things work, not just the one example they saw. Generalizing that knowledge to new things. And a huge one, learning new words.
Okay, so check this out. This one study just makes it so clear. Researchers taught these little 6- and 12-month-old a sequence of actions with a hand puppet. Now, the babies who took a nap within a few hours of learning this, they remembered. They could repeat the actions later. But the babies who stayed awake, they completely forgot. The nap was the literal difference between remembering and forgetting. Wild, right?
Now let's zoom in on one of the coolest parts of this, especially when you think about one of the most incredible things that happens in early childhood, learning to talk. The connection between napping and vocabulary is really well studied, and the findings are, well, pretty surprising.
Okay, so really quick, let's just get on the same page about two terms. When scientists talk about vocabulary, they're looking at two kinds. You've got receptive vocabulary. Those are all the words your child understands. Then you've got expressive vocabulary, the words they can actually say. This little difference is super important for what comes next.
So picture this. Researchers over at the University of Oxford did this amazing long-term study. They followed a big group of infants and toddlers, and they meticulously tracked two things: their sleep patterns and how fast their vocabulary was growing. They wanted to know what kind of napping would predict the biggest explosion in words.
So, what's your guess? What do you think they found? Was it the kids who slept for the longest total time during the day? I mean, that seems logical, right? More sleep equals more learning. But that's not what the data showed. Not at all.
And here it is. This is the big reveal. It wasn't about the total duration of nap time. It was the frequency, how many naps they took. More frequent naps meant more chances to hit that save button during the day. And that was linked to way better growth in both the words they understood and the words they could say. It kind of suggests that a couple of shorter, separate naps might actually be more powerful for learning than one single marathon nap.
Okay, so naps build skills and vocabulary, but they also do something huge for a child's emotional world. And if you have ever dealt with a cranky, overtired toddler, you have seen the flip side of this firsthand. The science behind why that happens is all about regulating a very specific hormone.
And that hormone is cortisol. You've probably heard it called the stress hormone, but it's also what keeps us alert. Our bodies produce it in a daily cycle, but for little kids, that whole system is still, well, it's still under construction. It takes a few years to mature.
And you can really see this in the data. One study showed that on average, younger toddlers just have higher baseline levels of cortisol than older toddlers. As kids get into that third year, their body's whole stress response system just gets better at chilling out. And you guessed it, naps are a huge part of learning to do that. So what does this all mean for you? Well, it means naps help keep that cortisol from going haywire, which keeps your kid from getting totally overstimulated and emotionally overwhelmed. And that leads directly to something called effortful control, which is just the fancy term for being able to manage emotions, pay attention, and handle frustration. A well-napped child is, literally, better wired to handle the world. Okay, so the science is crystal clear. Naps are a developmental non-negotiable. They're a superpower. So the next question is obvious. How do we, as parents and caregivers, create the best possible conditions for this superpowered flourish?
You know, pretty much every expert agrees on this one. Consistency is everything. A short, simple, predictable routine is like a signal to your child's brain that it's time to shift gears from playing to resting. It doesn't have to be some long, complicated thing. Just, dim the lights, click diaper change, a cuddle, maybe a quiet book or a soft song. It's that predictability that creates a sense of safety and makes the transition to sleep so much easier.
And look, this isn't just some nice idea someone had. The actual researchers behind these studies make these recommendations directly to doctors and schools. They strongly advise that parents and daycares should actively promote napping and treat it like the crucial opportunity for brain development that it is. This is real, science-backed guidance.
So I guess if there's one big idea to walk away with, it's a shift in how we think about naps. Instead of seeing that midday quiet time as a pause, as a break from the day's activities, we can start to see it for what it really is, one of the most important learning activities of their entire day. It's not a break from development, it is development in action.